Okay, welcome back. Part two about what is curriculum. So in this part, I'm talking about enacted curriculum. This is the curriculum that actually is happening in the classroom. This is what teachers teach and what students learn. So I'm going to go over some questions to kind of ask ourselves with regard to our enacted curriculum. First, what is the alignment between adopted curriculum, if provided, and what is actually getting taught? At this time, I'm going to have you pause this video to watch this interesting short little video about official curriculum, enacted curriculum, assessed curriculum. It's kind of a really interesting viewpoint on what's going on. So go ahead and pause this video. I have a link to this on D2L. Go ahead and watch that and then come on back to this video. Okay, welcome back. So as you see, it's kind of daunting, right? What the guy went over, it's like, but this happens quite a bit, especially with Big C curriculum. So you get it as a teacher, it's got all these parts and pieces. You go, okay, here's what we're doing this week. We're in unit 2, Monday through Friday, here's what we're doing. Well, then all of a sudden during reading time, you have an unexpected school a new speaker who's coming to talk about something, or there's going to be some demonstration out on the lawn that you want your students to participate in. So, Monday's out what you had planned. Now you're like, okay, we were supposed to do this on Monday. Now we're doing it on Tuesday. And then you have a fire drill in the middle of reading, right? And then, and all these things. So there is this reality of that things happen. There's also the reality that students may or may not really be getting what you are teaching, and you might need to spend more time on something than what the pacing guide or the teacher's guide kind of shows you to do. And you wouldn't be an effective teacher if you just kept marching through, right? But if you are held to this pacing guide across the district or across your school, and you're like, you got to give that unit 2 test on this day, right? Then you're going to go like, okay, let me just teach you what's on the test, right? Obviously, this is not a good example of enacted curriculum. Now, so to answer this question, what is the alignment between adopted and what is actually getting taught? I'm not saying that if it's misaligned, it's bad, right? But you need to be able to critically understand like what in this can be adjusted and adapted for the context we're in. Okay, so now I want to talk about, this is the curriculum that actually is happening. So let's look at factors of what contributes to the actual enacted curriculum. So here I've kind of like pie pieces to think about, right? State standards, of course, these are important. You will be held accountable as a teacher to that you are aligning what you're teaching and that students are working toward those state standardized expectations. District curricular adoptions, of course, is going to play a role. If you have an adopted Big C curriculum, that is going to play a role in what gets enacted. Then there's the actual materials that are available, right? You may or may not have everything that you want, and you have to think about, is there money to purchase that, right? Or can the parent organization purchase that or do something in order for my students to have these experiences? Then you have like school culture. There is a lot involved in this. This is like, who gets to do what? Who makes the decisions? I remember one year teaching with a principal who didn't know the word no when it came to budget. Like I'd say, I really need this. And he would figure out a way for us to have that, in our classroom. And then he moved on and we got this new principal who was constantly, oh, hold on, there we go. who was constantly saying no to anything that I was interested in getting for my students, right? So that was that school. There was two different cultures that happened in the same school because of different leadership. Um, whose voices matter the most, right? Our teachers listen to, are the students listen to? All of these aspects of school culture can really play a role in the actual enacted curriculum. And it's because of these next two things: culture, knowledge, skills, and beliefs of the teacher become incredibly important in what's enacted in that particular classroom, right? If I really believe strongly in student choice, my enacted curriculum is going to look different than a teacher who believes that, it's okay for them to choose maybe for this 15 minutes in the day. The rest of the time, it's important for them to learn what I put in front of them, right? And then that goes along with the culture, knowledge, skills, beliefs of students. What do they believe about their own confidence and abilities? That is going to hugely influence the enacted curriculum. And finally, thinking about community resources and support for this, what, again, like how what is being used is linked to the resources that you have. Okay, so I'm going to just end this video with this conversation about the explicit, implicit, and null curriculum. And then in the next video, I'm going to go into these in depth. So enacted curriculum basically is the result of what we consider implicit and explicit curriculum. Explicit meaning what you can see and what's actually there. Implicit meaning things that are kind of hidden, that may not be specifically written down, but they play a role. And that leads to enacted. Well, Elliot Eisner, who, kind of came up with this model, also said there's this other thing out there called the null curriculum. This is what you don't teach. Kind of interesting. So join me for my next video to hear more about explicit, implicit, and null curriculum.